Dear learners, today we are going to see an important topic in experimental psychology, that is psychological well-being scale. So in this presentation, I am going to cover these components. One is what is psychological well-being, so about the test, about the author, aim of the test, description of the test, directions or instruction to the client, table for individual data, table for group data, discussion, recommendation, suggestions, and finally a reference. So here we will understand the term what is psychological well-being. There are many definitions available in standard reference book. Here when we look into the different definitions, we can come to one conclusion that psychological well-being is one's own experience about positive emotions and the feeling of happiness. It is otherwise called subjective well-being. There are two types of psychological well-being. One is eudaimonic well-being and another one is hedonic well-being. So in eudaimonic well-being, it has 6 important components. They are self-acceptance, environmental mastery, positive relationship, personal growth, purpose in life, autonomy. And hedonic well-being has 3 important components: happiness, subjective well-being, and positive emotions. So in this psychological well-being scale, we are going to assess the 6 important traits component that is mentioned in the eudaimonic well-being terms. So here we are going to look into that about the test. Actually, this psychological well-being scale was developed by the psychologist Carol D. Riff. So it has 42 items which measure psychological well-being and 6 important components what we have seen in the previous slide. And the dimensions are given here in the psychological well-being. They are autonomy, environmental mastery, personal growth, positive relations with others, purpose in life, and finally self-acceptance. So Carol D. Riff, she is a woman, is an American academic and a psychologist. She received her doctorate in 1978. She is known for studying psychological well-being and psychological resilience. She is a Kildale Professor of Psychology at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where she directs the Institute on Aging. The aim of this assessment experiment is to find out psychological well-being of the subject with an appropriate scale or questionnaire. Description of the test. Psychological well-being scale has 42 items and 6 different dimensions. It helps to measure the psychological well-being of different age group. And the main factors involved in psychological well-being are the power and autonomy. So appropriate age group for the psychological well-being is adolescents, youth, and adult. So to complete these, there are 2 versions of psychological well-being versions are there. One is 18 item, another one is 42 items. In this experiment, we are going to look into that 42 items. The minimum duration for 18 items and 3 to 5 minutes. For 42 items, it will be 6 to 8 minutes. So the reading level of this question is 6th to 8th grade can able to read. So that is a easy way we can able to understand the statements in the questionnaire. So these are the instructions or directions to be given to the subject or the client who is taking up the psychological well-being scale. So a respondent will be given that 42 item scale with 7 responses. And we have seen that what are the 6 important components. It is mentioned in the dimensions wise also. The researcher has to inform them there are positive and negative items in the scale also. Then based on the response, it must be recoded after data collected from the subject. So these are the important responses: strongly agree, somewhat agree, a little agree, neither agree or disagree, a little disagree, somewhat disagree, strongly disagree. The scoring will be for positive items: strongly agree will be 1, somewhat agree will be 2, little agree will be 3, neither agree nor disagree 4, a little disagree will be 5, somewhat disagree will be 6, strongly disagree 7. So the reverse scoring will be done for the negative items. So norms will be higher the score indicates better psychological well-being, less the score indicates poor psychological well-being. And this is the individual data. We can find out all the score and then total score. Based on that score obtained by the subject, we can say that they fall under particular category. In group data, we have to write the overall score and level. So in the level, it will indicate the psychological well-being of the subject. In the discussion part, when we are writing in experimental psychology, there are two components we have to consider. One is the subject data and its interpretation. Second one is group data, and we have to compare that male and female group, and then subject data with male group, female group, and then overall group. So these discussions will be in elaborative and logical in manner. And finally, we have to give the suggestions how to improve the psychological well-being of the different age group of the peoples. And in the conclusions, we have to write about the subjects data, and then male group, female group, overall group, whether the individuals in the group whether differ or not. So these are things we have to give, and reference should be in APA format. That should be based on the APA format. We have to write according to the APA format. So in this presentation, I hope you understand what is psychological well-being scale and how we have to administer. Based on that data we have collected, we have to give the report to the client. Thank you. We will see in the next video. Thank you.